Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining in this morning's service. The format for the beginning of the service will be Kansho, calling bell. Kansho, calling bell. Then the chanting of the Sanbutsuge. Okay, Sanbutsuge. So you have your seiten or your homemade stack of papers or however, but you should be taking care of them very well. Then chant along at home. Everyone else here, you could put your heads down and contemplate, or you could follow along with your eyes, or just stare at the Naijin like you're supposed to. Anyways, after that, we'll go on with our regular program for what you can see. All right, thank you very much. No.
Good morning, and welcome to this morning's service. I am David Nishina, and I will be the chairperson for today's service. We will begin this morning's service with the golden chain. I am a link in Amita's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I must keep my link bright and strong. I will be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will think pure and beautiful thoughts, say pure and beautiful words, and do pure and beautiful deeds. May every link in Amita's golden chain of love be bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Our Gatha this morning will be Hotoke no Kodomo, which is on page 43 of the service book. For those of you joining by Zoom, materials for this morning's service were included in the email with the link for the service.
Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.
Reverend Kory will now lead us in the reading of the three treasures.
Sankemon. Ninjin ukuketashi ima sudeni kuku. Buppo kikiketashi ima sudeni kiku. Onomi konjo ni mukate dose zumba sarani izure no sho ni mukate ka konomi o dosen. Daishu o toru. もろともに四神に三宝に消えし立て祭るべし。自ら仏に消えし立て祭る。まさに願わくは師匠と共に大道を体現して無常よこさん。自ら法に消えし立て祭る。 まさに願わくは師匠と共に深く教蔵に入りて知恵海のごとくならん。自ら僧に消えし立て祭る。まさに願わくは師匠と共に来週を取りして一切無下ならん。 無常人人女の方は約千万号にもあよことくたし、我今検問し受記することを得たり、願わくは如来の真実義を義し立て祭らん。The three treasures. Hard is it to be born into human life? Now we are living it. Difficult it is to hear the teachings of the Blessed One. Now we hear it. If we do not deliver ourselves in the present life, no hope is there that we shall be freed from suffering and sorrow in the ocean of birth and death. Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I put my faith in Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of thy way to enlightenment, and awaken in ourselves thy supreme will. I put my faith in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of thy doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I put my faith in Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord, in thy life of harmony, in a spirit of universal family, free from the bondage of selfishness. Even through ages of myriads of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.
We will now have our message by Reverend Kory.
Namandas, 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 namandas. Gassho. Trees of 7 precious materials fill the land, mutually reflecting each other's brilliance. The flowers, fruits, branches, and leaves all shine thus. So take refuge in Amida, the store of virtues fulfilled through the primal vow. Pure winds blow in the jewel trees, reducing the 5 tones of the scale. As those sounds are harmonious and spontaneous, pay homage to Amida, the one imbued with purity. Beings of light, 3,600,000 billion in number, shine brilliantly from within each flower. There is no place they do not reach. Buddha bodies equal in number to the 3,600,000 billion beings of light emerge from each flower. Their features and marks are like mountains of gold. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Morning, everyone. Thank you for coming today for this morning service. These passages, I actually read 4 passages, were written by Shinran Shoni, but they were referencing the sutras. They were referencing the sutras. They're from the Hymns of the Pure Land, number 40 through 43. Now, I guess JJ already heard this message, kind of, huh? Were you on that yesterday for jam session? No? Oh, good. Then it's on me. I was like, oh man, but anyways, so yesterday I spoke for the Southern District Junior YBL jam session, and it was on cartoons. And so I was like, oh gee, they chose the wrong person for this, because there's too many cartoons to choose from. Wow, what an exciting chapter to be able to share with all these young high school students or junior Y members, right? Cartoons, oh man. So I said, well, where do cartoons come from? Or what really are the function of cartoons? They take us to other places, they broaden our imagination, they teach us lessons, or they just show us fanciful stories. These are all great things. What were cartoons 100 years ago? Comics. What were cartoons 800 years ago when Shinran Shonin wrote these passages? I just read them, right? To be honest, that was pretty much all they had. And 1,000 years or 2,600 years ago, when the Buddha was alive, what were cartoons? Well, they were the sutras, but they didn't have writing, so they recited them like we did with our chanting. They recited the sutras, they recited these lessons or stories so that your mind could be the cartoon. Your mind could, that's why we talk about Mongpo, right? Or how to listen to a Dharma message isn't to look at the minister telling the, or sharing the Buddha Dharma, but it's actually to sit down and put your head down and almost look like you're sleeping. Well, that's what I used to think, right? We also used to think that. And maybe it was true, but you're supposed to put your head down and contemplate and listen to the teaching so that you can internalize them for yourself. So when we hear these stories, when we watch these stories or cartoons, what kind of imagery are we receiving? And also, what kind of lessons are we learning, right? The ones that I read today, they're to describe the Buddha's Pure Land. That's why we have the columns. That's why we have the flowers on the Naijing. And that's why we chanted in the way that we do, so that you can hear the 5 tones, right? And all the different colors for the 7 different jewels. That's why we talk about, oh man. Oh, that's good. That's why we have, it's talking about beams of light, 3,600,000 billion. I feel like a little kid when I say that number. It's like I totally made that up. But no, it's right here. 3,600,000 billion in number, right? Shine brilliantly from each flower. But it also talks about 3,600 billion flowers with the bodies coming from each one of them. So if you can imagine one Buddha with that much light coming from it, how could we not learn something? These are all valuable things in our lives. The recent ones I talked about, for the older people, sometimes I don't know if you ever watched the Smurfs. I grew up with the Smurfs, right? And what did the Smurfs teach us? They teach us to an identity. Everyone in the village has their own uniqueness, has their own identity, right? Which is very valuable, because sometimes we feel I have to be like everyone else. I had to be like everyone else. If you watch the last Smurfs movie, it talks about Smurfette being the only girl, but what really is an et? And that's what you have to think about too, right? And then she well, I don't have to give it away. You have to watch the cartoon, because I gave it away in the Dharma message yesterday. But that's the question you have to figure out for yourself, right? And yet, because of the uniqueness of each and every individual, they belong in the village. Because of the uniqueness of each and every individual in the world, we're all in this together. We're all filled with lion passions or vulnerable beings. This is what we learn from cartoons. So as we grow up and get older, I hope you move. I have moved away from cartoons, but your mind turns from the concrete to the abstract. You're able to listen to the teachings more deeply and understand the true beauty of what we're chanting or what the Buddha is trying to teach us. Right? Just like the last line I read, their features and marks are like mountains of gold. Their features and marks are like mountains of gold. Can you imagine what it looks like? A mountain of gold. Even on a cloudy day like this, shining in the sunlight, or in the light that's available. I don't know if you'd be able to, if it's clean gold, I guess you would be able to look at it. If it's dirty gold, then it's probably not enlightenment anyways. So something of pure gold that you look at. That's why we have our Naijing, okay? When you come into the temple or into the Hondo, this is what it is to be in the Pure Land. Just a little glimpse. Just a little glimpse. Now, of course, when we think of mountains of gold, I always think of this famous Zen saying that's supposed to describe a form of enlightenment or awakening. And I've shared it with many of you. First, there's a mountain. Then there's no mountain. Then there's a mountain again. I think you could look up the saying and it'll come up in a rock song from the 60s or 70s too. But first there's a mountain, then there's no mountain, then there's a mountain again. This is just to describe all things in life. When we look at the Naijing, we see this wonderful altar, and we know, or the mountain of gold, right? When we look at a mountain, you see this big, huge, beautiful thing. But as we get closer to it, or as we analyze what it really is, we realize what? That it's not one big piece. It's many different pieces working together to give us this image of the mountain. Trees, plants, rocks, dirt, even the living beings that live on the mountain. Then what changes? Realizing this, you can apply it to everything that's in life, even yourself. Right? When you ask, who am I? Looking in the mirror, who am I? And then, because we understand this abstract concept of what is a mountain, and what really isn't a mountain at all, or who am I, and what am I really, then you step back. Because to live in this world, you still need to be a foolish being sometimes. You still have to realize what it is what a mountain is and how to explain it to everyone else. So finally, as we look at these cartoons, don't be dissuaded by what we see. Right? Think about the lesson or the story, the lesson behind the story that is trying to teach you. I want to share one example of when I was trying to do this research of what people are, what kind of cartoons are interesting to people, and one showed up on Hulu, so I thought I'd watch it. It's called Yona of the Dawn. It's not too bad, but it's very interesting. It's about this princess who becomes 16 years old, and her father is murdered. So then her trusty bodyguard rushes her out of the castle, and they have to go on the run, basically. Now, she never left the castle for 16 years. So she thought life was wonderful. But as she travels along, she hears, "Did you hear the king is dead?" Oh, maybe things will change. Maybe things will be better. He was such a terrible king. Even though in the palace he was denouncing violence and war and only promoted peace, but he never fought for any of the people, people just did whatever they wanted. So they robbed, the nobles robbed the peasants and mistreated, and and so she's finding all this out. And then she meets people that are always living in fear, or living in these hard conditions. And it was so amazing to her to find out that this wonderful person that she thought as a great king was actually terrible to everyone else. Now we could apply that to how many different Buddhist stories. I mean, first off, Siddhartha himself was always lavished in luxury, and then goes out the four gates, right, and sees this, and then you go, wow, this is what the Buddha must have realized going through the four gates. Or another one is the Obon story, right, where Mogalana, not Mogalana, yeah, I'm sorry, I mix up Mogalana with Mowgli from Jungle Book, and so Mokuren, we'll go with Mokuren. there's no messing that up. That's why I always but anyway, Mokuren, right? He meditates and then he sees his mother in her state after death, and then he's surprised, right? Because in that story too, he finds out that she was such a wonderful mother, but terrible to everyone. The situation wasn't so. She was actually not the greatest role model as he had thought. So I was like, gee, when you read something, think about the lessons that we've learned here in our Buddhist life. They're all similar themes. The way we read it or way we watch it on the screen, it just helps us to internalize it and relate to it in a different way. But they're all relevant, and they're all wonderful ways of seeing imagery through these pieces. So again, 800 years ago, we have the imagery in the collected works or in other pieces. 2,600 years ago, even though it was auditory, thus I heard, right? Starts many of the sutras, and then they're recalled through the Buddhist sutras, or I wanted to say the Tripitaka, but yeah, all 100 values or so. So it's that. Just analyze what you're watching and what it's trying to teach you, and how is it Buddha-like. Okay. If you please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. One more. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sensei, for your message. Next, we will recite the 6 Paramitas, which is on pages 4 and 5 of the service book.
6原光み仏様の御心に立ち返らさせていただいて、一つ、今日一日、清らかな眼と温かい情け、つつましやかな態度で暮らしましょう。一つ、今日一日、穴をたたますまい。一つ、今日一日、不平不足嘘を申しますまい。一つ、今日一日、私の仕事に全身全力を挙げて 尽くさせていただきましょう。一つ、今日一日、夜昼常に私を守らせても御仏のご恩を喜ばさせていただきましょう。一つ、今日一日、南無阿弥陀仏を唱えさせていただきましょう。Six Paramitas. Turning our thoughts to the Buddha, let us throughout the day live with clear eyes, warm hearts, and humble attitude. Let us throughout the day not become angry. Let us throughout the day not utter words of discontent, dissatisfaction, and untruth. Let us throughout the day do our daily work with all our power. Let us throughout the day rejoice in the loving compassion of Amida, who is constantly watching over us day and night. Let us throughout the day repeat the holy name, Namo Amida Butsu. Promise. The Buddha is our eternal father and mother. The Buddha always keeps watch over us. We promise to listen to the teachings of the Buddha and perfect ourselves by following the Buddha's ideals. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Nos.
Are there any announcements? Please unmute yourself to make your announcement.
Hi, David. I have an announcement. The Venice Honganji Buddhist Temple's virtual Lumbini Boutique has reached 75% of its goal of $2,000. We've raised $1,500 so far, and we only have like a week and less than a half until November the 30th, which is the end of the virtual Lumbini Boutique. So thank you very much so far for all of your support and your donations. And there's still some time to get some really nice gifts. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to thank you for your help with last week's Donna deliveries. I hope everyone enjoyed the pies. A special thanks to Michelle Orn and Jerry Seta and my dad and Gino for helping to assemble the bags last weekend. It was a lot of fun doing it together. Also to the VJCC for donating cookies to the bags, and Judy Nawa for helping to pick up and deliver to the temple. Thank you. I also want to thank Tom Yamaguchi for always, he helped make room in the fridge for all the 125 pies and setting up the tables and helping tear them down. And the rest of Abba was there too to help us get it all into the fridge. So thank you for that help. Also to our volunteers who always help us deliver every month. Girl Scout Troop 5325, Cub Pack 79, Boy Scout Troop 764, Troop 719, Junior YBA, the BWA helped on Dharma School, and all our temple and member friends who always help out. We appreciate your help. And the next one will be December 19th. So enjoy. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Just a few things. So Project Bombu for 2022, we're taking donations now for that. Remember, that's for a monthly draw, January through November, and then we select 2 winners in December. So the donation is $100 per entry. So you can, it's on GiveButter. It's givebutter.com/VHBT Project Bombu 2022. You've seen it in the email updates too. Second thing is special thanks to Cub Pack 79. If you come around, they spent yesterday morning cleaning up the outside of the temple. So many thanks to them. It looks very nice outside now. And so We'll enjoy that. And by the way, I don't see any Cub Scouts here, so they are selling See's candy again. So I sent the information Wednesday's update, so you can order it on their special spreadsheet, and they will pick it up, and you arrange to get it to you. I guess pick up at the temple, or you can have it shipped directly. If you spend $75, which nowadays doesn't take that much, it's free shipping, so you could have it just shipped directly to you too. So buy lots of candy, and we will have service next Sunday. It'll be our November Tsuki Tsui Tohoyo service. So despite the holiday weekend, so we'll hope to see you next Sunday morning, and have a good holiday.
We will conclude this morning's service with the Gatha farewell, followed by the reading of the benediction. Farewell is on page 37 of the service book. We surround all people and all forms of life with infinite love and compassion. Particularly, do we send forth loving thoughts to those in suffering and sorrow, to all those in doubt and ignorance, and to those whose feet are standing close to the great change we call death. We send forth oceans of wisdom, mercy, and love. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you for attending this morning's service. Dharma School for our middle and high school students will begin at 11 a.m. in the breakout room and outside in the parking lot. For those here in person, anyone is welcome to attend. You can now unmute yourself and visit.